I want to show you a technique I figured out for clearing out through holes in PCBs. Basically, we melt the solder in the hole, stick a needle through the hole while the solder is melted, and remove the needle. I suppose any long, thin object would work as long as solder doesn't stick to it. Sewing needles, this is a sewing machine needle, seem to work well for this. Notice it changes its size along its length. That can help clear out bigger holes. So I'm going to fill the holes with solder just to make a worst case to see if this technique works in the worst case. Now I have found if there's an awful lot of solder in there, the holes are totally filled, I have to use solder wick first, or else solder will build up on the needles and I can't get them out even though there's a hole. The hole is not transversable. Did I use the right word there? I think so. Focus. Okay. So here I'm going to take some solder wick and just remove the grossest, the largest bits of solder, if I can at this temperature. These solderings are in it set at 270 here. So you can see the soldering wick got the big chunks, but the holes are still quite thoroughly filled. So now I'm going to put this back in shot. I'm going to take a needle here and heat the hole, stick in the needle, swirl it around so that the solder doesn't stick to it. And I think I have a hole I could put another component into. So let's see if we could do that. Let's see if this is repeatable. Swirling, melt, swirl, melt, swirl. And some solder got stuck on the needle. It's going to melt again. And melt, swirl, and pull. And I can see light through that hole. You'll have to trust me on that. I'm going to do it again. Melt, swirl, and pull. And a little piece of solder, all the solder got stuck on the other side. Going to heat it up again. Melt and swirl. Melt and swirl. Sounds like an exercise video. Okay, this one's stubborn. So maybe I just have too darn much solder on there for this technique to work. Now, I got 3 holes in there. And Let's see. Could I get a wire in there? I will presume if I can get a pin in there, I can get a wire in there. Well, the middle one, if I clear it out first. So this does take some cleaning up, it seems. Not a perfect technique. More mechanical stress on the board than using just solder wick, but less heat stress. So you pick your technique for your situation. Thanks, and wait for the outtakes. I steady my hand from drinking too much coffee this morning. And let's see. Going to put some solder there. Let's see, is it sticking? I'm going to try and force it to stick by just putting a blob on there. And I'll cool it down on the soldering sponge. And let's see, did the solder stick? Well, it didn't really. I can spin it around, but there seems to be some dried flux behind it, and it falls apart.